When you see how most businesses try and run their marketing and sales systems, it's no wonder 90% of them fail. Because even when they do start to get some traction, they scale the wrong things, they scale inefficiently, and they scale it until it breaks. Now, when they have investors or VC funds paying for this ability to scale, they don't necessarily see the cracks start to form until it's too late. But when it's your own capital that's on the line, when you are the bootstrap business that's trying to scale efficiently and keep your profit margins at a strong level so you can continue to reinvest into the business, then it's even more important to scale with efficiency. So today I'm going to be covering why a lot of the best practices tend to break at scale, such as running an MQL hamster wheel, so getting as many leads in as possible from marketing, ebook downloads, white paper downloads, just to then have sales go chase them around and follow them up, or just blanket cold calling, high volume, hundreds of calls a day, just to see who you can get on the line and see who you could possibly get some interest from. All of those systems break. Volume at scale breaks. That's why we recommend a 3-phase process, because you do need to start with volume. You need to have some conversations and get going and find out where your message and product fits in the market. But then you need to dial for quality before then going for quantity and quality, volume and quality before scaling. So why do these systems that so many businesses run at scale tend to break? Well, they're being sold a lie, whether it's the X amount on ads equals X amount of leads equals X amount of calls equals X amount of sales, or it's X amount of outbound reps equals X amount of calls equals X amount of meetings equals X amount of revenue, and then they just continue to try solving that equation for X, and they may get some early wins with this. They may spend 10 grand on ads, they get 50 grand back, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. But then they start to scale it, and all of a sudden the lead quality drops off, the calls are getting less and less efficient, and they end up spending 50 grand to make 50 grand. And then it gets worse and worse from there. Same with outbound calls. You may, with one outbound dialer, get some meetings set, get some deals across the line, and for what you paid for that outbound rep to go and source those meetings to then close that deal, could be extremely profitable, could be a very good return on investment. But now you scale that out to 10 outbound dialers, and all of a sudden you're starting to call through obviously a lot more people per day, which means you're getting a very mixed bag of individuals based on desires, personas, and the different market dynamics that they're in. So why does it break every time you try and scale this type of model, this reverse headcount, reverse spend sort of model? It's because it doesn't take into account these different components of market dynamics. So let's just say this big circle here, you've got your total addressable market. Inside that market, there's going to be multiple desires. So let's look at desire 1 here that you can see obviously on the screen. Inside that desire, there's going to be different personas, and then inside that desire, there's going to be different stages of awareness for those personas. So if we used accountants, for example, as the TAM, so you work with accountants, maybe provide software or consulting or services to accounting firms. Within that addressable market of accounting firms, there's going to be different pockets of desire. Now, you may only be able to solve one of those desires in that market, depending on what your offer is and what sort of solutions you provide. And that might only then be applicable to one persona. Then you're hoping that they're at a stage of awareness, if we relate back to the buyer's pyramid, where they are in market looking for a solution, because you're just going direct to, hey, this is what we have, this is what we offer. And that's if you are running a direct response campaign. The reverse of that is if you are, say, running an ebook campaign or a white paper campaign or a webinar campaign, where the intention of collecting those leads is to give them to sales and then let sales go chasing them after that. The reason that breaks is because you are tapping into too low a level of awareness. So sales has to literally sift through tons of leads just to find ones that are possibly in market looking for solutions, which is not time effective. They create long sales cycles, and you start to burn through the market because you're giving some value and then misusing the information that those prospects give you back. So they're giving you their number to obviously get access to whatever resource it is that you've provided, and then you're hounding them day after day, seeing if you can get them into a sales call. It's obviously going to create a negative buying experience, and it's going to burn through the market the bigger that gets. And I saw this at the first ever company I worked at. When they had a small sales team, for example, at one point it was just me on the sales team after everyone else had quit because the sales performance really dropped off. I was the only one left, and I blew it out of the park. I smashed all records there, because the marketing really dialed in. They could only generate obviously enough leads that I could handle. So I was able to be super selective with who I put into the pipeline, with who I actually booked meetings with. So if they weren't ready to start taking action or implement a sort of service that we offered, I wouldn't bother even booking them in because they would waste my time. But when they hired the sales team back out again, they hired 6 more reps, and now there was 7 of us, and all of a sudden that marketing spend diluted into much wider audiences that are all at varying stages of awareness, that are all different personas, maybe have different desires as well, based on obviously the marketing messaging and what's going out there. And all of a sudden, everyone's performance dropped. My performance dropped, everyone else struggled, the whole team struggled. Because now the system was getting just so flooded with low quality prospects that were either low awareness or so far near the start of their buying journey for any sort of solution like this. And the time that it took to progress someone through to even being solution aware or buying aware not only took weeks, but then you had to go through the actual, okay, now that they're interested in the product, let's actually initiate a sales cycle. So the sales cycle completely blew out, the conversion rates dropped off, time and energy being used to filter through this list and just try and find prospects who were actually somewhat interested in the sort of services we provided was costing the business a fortune in salaries, not just on sales, but in marketing efforts, ad spend. Everything combined was leading to an inefficient system. So again, while it was just me and the marketing message got really dialed and the marketing message got really direct because they couldn't flood me with a ton of leads because I only had so much time in the day, then I was able to be super picky and sift through. But when that message spread out and we were all kind of fighting for the good leads, the people that were further down their buying journey looking for solutions, the entire team's performance dropped because the company, the marketers in the company didn't understand this. They didn't understand market dynamics and that not everyone in your market is looking to buy stuff. So as I mentioned, with a small team, this can work. But the wider it goes, the lower the levels of awareness that start to come into the system. But not only that, the more people you burn in your market, especially if you have a small total addressable market. If you're getting people to opt into value-based content and then chasing them with sales using those details to annoy them, they're not going to have a positive relationship with the brand. They're not going to want to come back and do any business with you. So although in the early days you may get some traction and you start to see some positive ROI, that's going to burn out really quickly because you've annoyed the majority of the market. So their viewpoint on you and the value that they attach to your business is that you're annoying. So who do you think they're going to do business with in the future when they actually do progress? They're going to do business with companies that supported their journey, that supported them when they weren't in market, when they weren't looking to have sales conversations and didn't try and force them in, but when they did shift to in market, was available for them to now speak to. And that, again, if you know the buyer's pyramid principle, is 90% of your market aren't in market to buy, probably even more. 90 to 95% aren't in market to buy. So if you're going to annoy 90 to 95%, maybe you don't annoy a few of them because they're like, oh, maybe I'll consider it. So let's say you annoy 80% of your market. You're going to tap out of that 20% very quickly because not only are you not going to win every deal of that top 20% that you can possibly go after, but now you've hit a ceiling. And I've seen this at companies time and time again where they might get some success running this sort of model, but they hit a ceiling and they get stuck there for ages because they don't understand that they're annoying the majority of their market versus nurturing who's not in market, providing value, providing education, and helping them understand that there are solutions available to their problems so that then they become in market and they raise their hand to speak to you. Completely different philosophy, completely different methodology that focuses on the long-term growth of the business, not how can we make cash today. So to top it all off, the costs of this model grow out of control. Again, when you combine the salaries of sales, marketing, ad spend, everything else that's associated with running that engine versus the return rate as it scales and that ROI decreases as you try and push it bigger and bigger and bigger, all of a sudden you can be running this big machine that's running negatively, but you're on the hook for all these salaries because that's what you sign up for. So you can either make redundancies, which is going to cost you money, especially if they're obviously doing their job, so you'd have no place to fire them. The marketing department are going to get so ingrained with this short-term, quick fix mentality that they're going to struggle to implement anything that of value for a long-term play. So it's all just net negative. It's costing you a ton of money, it's burning the majority of the market, and you actually start to lose money eventually when you try and scale this model. So again, don't try and scale reverse headcount modeling, reverse ad spend modeling. It doesn't work. There is a better way. And the better way is to build an ecosystem. Create a process in market where you are educating buyers who are problem unaware, problem aware, solution aware, and allowing them to indicate that they are aware of what you offer, they are aware of what you can provide for them, and they want to have a discussion. Don't score your appointment setters or your SDRs on meetings set. Don't score your marketing team on MQLs that are coming through. Create demand and score your team's success on how many declared opportunities are coming through, how many hand raises are being generated. Now, that doesn't mean sales can't play an active role in the demand creation funnel. If there's, for example, an account that the business really values and maybe wants to go after, or you've seen some signals that they could be interested in what you do, a sales rep could take it on themselves to connect with the key people of that company, say on LinkedIn, start commenting on their content if they're sharing any, start sharing content to them, share something that you think might be valuable, start building a relationship before ever entering any sort of sales conversation, so that when they are in market and starting to look at vendors, they go, Sam was the guy that does that as well. Let me just message him quickly because he's already given me some value. He's already helped me out. He's been a supporter of mine online. He's championed my success. Let's see what he's up to and how he can possibly help. So through your content, they've become aware of the problem. They've become aware of solutions. And now they are aware of you and your opportunity to provide that solution. Now you move them into the sales cycle. If we focus on driving this engine on the front end, the rest kind of takes care of itself. And then we don't have to hire a ton of salespeople to call through a ton of leads and cost the company a bomb in salaries. We're able to hire based on the level of demand that we're creating. And then obviously if the sales rep can go out and create additional demand through relationship building, through their own networks, through their own Rolodex, awesome. But if we know that the base level of demand that we have, if a sales rep performs at a reasonable level, will produce an ROI positive revenue return for the business, then we can hire with confidence that we're not going to be burning through cash versus just reverse headcount modeling, praying that that formula still holds true, that it still works. And if we just hire 10 more reps to make 100 more calls a day each, that will just solve all of our revenue problems. We don't have to do that anymore. We can just focus on creating demand, capturing that demand. And when I say creating demand, as people I've seen get kind of bent out of shape about this, of like, you can't create demand in the market. It's creating demand for your brand, creating awareness around your brand. So whatever term you want to use for it, it's just allowing your total addressable market to know that you exist, what problems you solve, how you solve them, by educating them and talking about it in market. So whether you call it brand awareness, demand creation, whatever title you put on it, you're creating awareness and helping them solve problems. So that by the time you can capture the demand that is being created over here, you can then enroll them into a conversion process or an influence sales system to convert that demand through. So that's it for this training. Again, don't reverse headcount model, don't play the volume game at scale. Build an ecosystem, build an effective process to create, capture, and convert demand. That will scale, the rest doesn't. Trust me, I've seen it over and over again. And since shifting and working in companies that build ecosystems and now helping companies build ecosystems, the difference is night and day in terms of ROI, sales success, marketing and sales alignment, all the things we want to see go up. So if you have any questions, comment below, ask away. Otherwise, go out there and build strong ecosystems and build better buying experiences.